Welcome back. Subscribe and become a member of our fast-growing audience or join our VIP program and enjoy special benefits. Link with us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and our website to read our content. See the links below and our channel page for details. Shout out to all our returning viewers, top commenters, and yes, all of our subscribers. Wondering why the Melly Mel case is moving through the immigration court system so fast? Both supporters and the curious-minded want to know. Well, we're back to take another look at the immigration case involving social media influencer Melissa Atwell, Holder, more widely known as Melly Mel. It had not even been 2 weeks since Melly Mel was detained by U.S. Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement, ICE police, and she is already set to appear before an immigration judge. Being ordered to appear before an immigration judge is not unusual, except that it's not a positive thing. It's usually a step in the removal or deportation process. Melly Mel was initially scheduled to make her first court appearance at a master hearing on June 25, 2025. As fast as her case was scheduled, it was moved up to months earlier to this Friday, March 28, 2025. So what in the world is going on? Why the rush? Why is her case being expedited? Here at the Final Takeaway, we ask tough questions, analyze situations, and try to provide answers for curious minds that want to know. With that being said, we're about to uncover 7 possible reasons why Melissa Atwell's case is being expedited through the immigration court system. Let's get to it. I take it that you already have the 411 on who Melly Mel is, but just to recap, she is a famous or infamous social media personality, depending on who you ask. Some say she's a social or human rights activist. Some say she's a reporter. Others say she's a mischief maker who has allegedly committed cyber crimes in Guyana and made libelous statements about Guyanese political figures and the current government before she departed Guyana for the U.S. and after she began residing in the U.S. Of course, Melly Mel is from Guyana and reportedly left for the United States around last year. She's now in custody. Now, we are not privy to the details of her immigration status in the U.S. Based on our investigation, she is at best an alien, a registered alien in the United States because she has an alien number. Atwell is now in custody at the ICE detention facility in Louisiana after being detained by U.S. Customs and Enforcement officials on March 13th, 2025. ICE is the main investigative arm of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS. ICE has 2 primary and separate law enforcement units: the Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, and Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO. We're not sure which one of these 2 separate units are actually the one that initiated this case against Miss Atwell. Like I said, it could be security investigations or it could be enforcement and removal operations. But back to the question, why is Melly Mel heading to court way ahead of the original date? Well, several reasons. Today we will look at 7 most common reasons for an earlier court date based on how the U.S. immigration system works. In the U.S. immigration system, a non-citizen, which Melly Mel seems to be a non-citizen, we don't know the details, as I said, but if she migrated or she left for the U.S. last year, based on the process to become a citizen, and based on the timeline, we can reasonably deduce and conclude that Melly Mel is not a U.S. citizen. She may be a resident alien, she may be a permanent resident, but it is more unlikely that she is a citizen, as she has claimed publicly.
I'm no longer a Guyanese citizen. I have relinquished my Guyanese citizenship, right? I am now a U.S. citizen. Okay. Let me get one thing. Let me get one thing clear.
Again,
okay?
In the U.S. immigration system, a non-citizen detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement may have their immigration court hearing moved up to an earlier date for several reasons. Number one, judicial or administrative backlogs. In some instances, immigration courts may reschedule cases due to docket management reasons, causing some hearings to be moved to an earlier date. So basically, sometimes the court has to shift around its schedule based on priority of cases, based on administrative decisions, etc., etc. Number two, the second reason why Melissa Atwell's case might have been moved up to an earlier date: expedited removal proceedings. Certain non-citizens, particularly those who have not been physically present in the U.S. for at least 2 years, can be placed in expedited removal, allowing immigration officers to quickly deport them without a hearing before an immigration judge. Well, we do know that Melly Mel is expected to appear before a judge. So based on what this particular explanation is saying, this may not apply to her because she is going to have a hearing. However, when it comes to the court system, things are not always black and white. There are exceptions to rules. There are exceptions to the law. There are exceptions to statutes, okay? Number three, the third reason why Melly Mel's case might have been moved up to an earlier date, which is this Friday: Priority Enforcement Program. ICE may prioritize cases involving individuals convicted of significant criminal offenses or those who pose a threat to public safety, leading to accelerated proceedings. I'll let you guys analyze that one. We don't have the facts of this case. We don't have the details. We don't know why Melly Mel was taken into custody and detained by ICE. We do not know if it's related to her immigration status, the way she migrated, or if it's related to acts while she was in the U.S. or actions while she was in Guyana. We don't know if she's being extradited. We don't have the details. We don't want to speculate, but she could fall under number three, where it's called a priority enforcement program that allows ICE to push a person's case faster through the system if they are convicted of criminal offenses or pose a threat to public safety. Number four, the fourth reason why Melly Mel's case might be moving through the immigration court system so quickly: requests by the government or court. ICE, or the Executive Office for Immigration Review, EOIR, may request expedited adjudication of application or petitions pending before U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, that's the USCIS, if approval would provide immediate relief for the individual. This is one that can be in favor of the individual, them being brought before an immigration judge to answer certain questions if the government is trying to expedite their U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service application. Number five, the fifth reason why Melly Mel's case might be pushing through the immigration system very quickly in an expedited fashion: detainees' request for a faster hearing. So Melly Mel's attorney could have requested a faster hearing on her behalf. That could be a reason. It may not be that she is facing deportation and therefore they just want this case in and out. A detained individual or their attorney may request an earlier hearing to expedite their case, speed it up, especially if they have strong evidence for relief from removal or wish to accept voluntary departure. The person who's detained may have evidence that can help them. Or the person might say, I don't want to be in detention. I don't know how long I will be in ICE custody. If you give me a chance, I will willingly on my own go back to my country. It could be that reason why her case is being expedited. Number 6, change in detention location. This is pretty much self-explanatory. If the person, in this case, Melly Mel, is being moved from one location to the other, this could be the reason why her case is going to be heard earlier, which is on Friday again. So yes, if a detainee is transferred to a different ICE detention facility, their case may be reassigned to a new immigration court with different scheduling priorities, potentially resulting in an earlier hearing date. And FYI, Melly Mel's case was not only pushed up to an earlier date, way earlier. Her judge, the judge that she was supposed to see, she's no longer seeing that judge. She will be facing a new judge. And number 7, last but not least, case review under immigration policies. Changes in immigration policies or enforcement priorities may result in certain categories of cases being expedited, rushed through the system, sped up, such as those involving asylum seekers subject to fast-track adjudication. Interesting. Immigration laws change rapidly and frequently, okay? If you're an immigration lawyer, you got to keep up with the law. It changes so quickly. And this is saying that if an immigration law or policy changes, it could be to the benefit of the person who's being detained. And in some cases, a change of law could actually not be in the person's best interest. It could actually end up with them being removed from the U.S. So number 7, case review under immigration policies could work for the benefit or against the individual who is currently detained by ICE, and a specific reference, special reference to asylum seekers. So there is a chance, we don't know, that Melissa Atwell could be eligible to seek asylum in the U.S. based on the circumstances of her case. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait until the facts of this case is made public. So yes, these are common factors that can influence a change in immigration court hearing dates for non-citizens. That's people who migrated to the U.S. or are in the U.S. legally or illegally, but are in ICE detention and may face removal or deportation. There may be other reasons why a person's case may be fast-tracked in the immigration court system in the U.S., but those are I'd say the top 7 reasons. When ICE or Customs and Border Protection officials detain a person within the United States, as opposed to at the border, the individual typically has a chance to see an immigration judge before knowing their fate. If you're following the news, you would have learned that the U.S. president basically instantly deported over 100 immigrants to El Salvador. They did not get a chance for a hearing. They were sent immediately. In this case, Melly Mel is still in the U.S. It was not instant removal. And again, we don't know if she is facing removal. We do know that she is going to immigration court. Here's the $1 million question. Does seeing an immigration court mean Melly Mel will absolutely be deported? I've answered that question in my explanation, but yes, again, we don't know. It may or may not. And as I've mentioned, being ordered to appear before an immigration court is a step in the removal or deportation process. Facing an immigration judge does not always lead to deportation. Even though the person may fit the criteria for removal from the US, other intervening circumstances could result in them remaining in the US. This could include incarceration or being allowed to stay based on asylum and refugee laws. Again, it all depends. The common reasons why people may be removed from the US: fraud or misrepresentation, a criminal offense, and where an individual will be unlawfully present in the United States once USCIS denies their petition or application to adjust their status. Here again, Melly Mel may not have committed a crime. It could be strictly related to her immigration process, her status. Sometimes a person may migrate to the US. They may become a resident, a permanent resident, an alien resident, as they call it as well. And something happen that causes that person to lose that permanent residence or alien status, resulting in the possibility of having to go through that immigration process for the court to decide whether the person can remain in the US. Naturally, if someone who is trying to become a citizen in the US loses their base status, which is permanent residency, then they automatically, in some sense, are no longer legally present in the US. Again, we don't want to speculate. These are all scenarios that could be playing out in a person's life who is facing immigration. An immigration process has to come before a judge and have the potential of being sent back to their country because they are a non-citizen. Well, guys, I hope you learned something today about how the immigration system works in the US. This is to help give you a general idea of what might be going on with the Melly Mel's case. Nothing said here is meant to be legal advice. We are just brainstorming here. We're trying to understand the Melly Mel's case from behind the scenes. And unless we see the actual documents, no one knows specifically why Melly Mel is in ICE custody. And by the way, we understand that there will be a rally, another rally for Melly Mel at the Square of the Revolution. Alrighty, that's it for now. Let's meet again soon right here for another episode of The Final Takeaway. Stay safe.